Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about changes in supply. Remember, what we're talking about here is supply and demand, except now our focus is going to get away from the consumer and we're going to get to the harder one, which is, of course, dealing with the supplier, the producer, the seller. Okay. Remember that supply is the amount of goods and services that is available. That's it. Pretty simple, straightforward. And remember that last time we took a look at a supply curve, we were looking at the law of supply. And remember that a law of supply is a change in price. Therefore, it is movement on the curve. Price of an item goes up, the quantity supplied actually rises. So it's movement on the curve. Now we're going to get away from the triggering of a movement on the curve triggered by a price change. Now we're going to focus not on price changes, but on a change in supply. Notice not quantity supplied, it's a change in supply. So it doesn't even matter what the price is. The fact is that there is more of that good or service available because of a non price factor. And when we're dealing with this, we deal with RATNES. That is the acronym we're going to use here. So, what does RATNES stand for? It stands for resource cost, it stands for alternative output, it stands for technological improvements and number of suppliers, expectations about future price and availability of suppliers, and subsidies and taxes. Notice RATNEST, RATNEST. Now, we're not moving on the curve. Now we're going to move the entire curve. Remember, this is zero going to infinity this way and zero going to infinity that way. So we're going to take this entire curve. It represents goods or services and the price and the amount I can make at that price. We're going to shift that curve left and right. So when you have an increase of supply, the curve shifts to the right. Notice that direction, and the price goes down because scarcity overall has decreased. And then, of course, when your supply goes down, we shift over to the left and scarcity goes up. So the price increases. Okay. Once again, increase, change in supply, increase in supply, decrease in supply. All right. So let's get started on our change in supply. Let's start with the R, which is resource cost in rat nest. This is pretty simple. Any factors of production that actually raise in price impacts the supply of a finished item. So in this case, let's just say we have a house. Okay. And that house, of course, is going to be made of wood. And if the price of lumber, which is a resource into going making houses, if the price of lumber drops, obviously the supply of homes is going to go up. All right. Pretty simple. So any factors of production, when their overall relative price drops, there is an increase in supply of an item. And of course, the reverse also takes place. So if the price of a resource that goes into making any factor of production that goes into making a good or service actually goes up, then the supply is going to drop. And the most common one that you see in something like this is any labor. Price of wages are a form of prices, and so when wages go up for construction workers, roofers, plumbers, electricians, then the overall supply of things like homes is going to go down. Okay. So again, we're talking about any resource involved. When the price goes up, supply goes down. When the price goes down of those resources, supply goes back up. Okay. So we got resource costs done. Now let's go to alternative output. What does alternative output deal with? Well, if we have a specific um, percentage or acres of land or size of a factory, there's only certain things we can actually do to that factory or that percentage or piece of land. This is a piece of land that is bordering Talmadge, and here's Babcock. And a few years ago, before COVID, this land was sold off. And so a lot of questions came out of, well, what are people going to do with this land? Well, there's alternative outputs that you can do to the land. One, you can grow things like grapes on it, or two, you can grow things like marijuana on it. And so there was a lot of questions about, okay, well, what's going to go there? Well, what we do is we take a look at the price of items and then how are you going to react to the alternative output. So we have two items that could go on that land: grapes and marijuana. What we notice is the price of marijuana is going down. If the price of marijuana is going down, that means I'm going to actually probably grow less marijuana and grow more grapes. The supply of grapes goes up. Does that make sense? Because we look at the alternative output, and what the alternative output is telling us is that we want to, of course, if I'm a supplier, I want to actually supply more of the higher priced items. And if I'm noticing the supply of cannabis is dropping, I'm going to probably tear out any cannabis plants I have and focus on growing the plant that is actually going to make me more money. In this case, it would be grapes. Okay. So, and if we saw let's do something like what would happen in a factory. Well, Apple has factories. That factory suffers from scarcity. I can only do certain things within that factory. And what things do I want to make in that factory? I want to make things that are actually going to be the highest possible price. Well, if I make computer monitors in that factory, and I also make MacBooks in that factory, but I'm noticing like the price of computer monitors is remaining the same, but the price of MacBooks is going up, then I'm going to stop, actually making these and make more of these. So if I notice that the price of MacBooks goes up, what am I going to do to monitors? I'm going to actually supply less monitors, because why would I? If I'm a factory, I want to make the maximum price. So I want to look at these two items that I'm making in the factory. I'm noticing that MacBooks are going up overall in price, so I'm going to reduce my supply of computer monitors. Okay, alternative output will almost always will deal with like two goods or services, and we're kind of, remember, we're dealing with, I want to make more of the higher priced one and not the lower priced one. Okay. So we have resource costs, alternative output. Now let's talk about technological improvements. This one is really easy. Basically, if technology gets better, supply goes up, price goes down. Simple as that. So if I'm Shots and I get myself a nice big fat new industrial sized oven here that can bake a bunch of donuts, my supply of pastries and donuts goes up, overall price goes down. Technology, innovation always increases supply. Why? Because technology is better at humans for doing most tasks that is out there. Not that the humans aren't necessary, but in terms of like, this thing here. Um, there's a lot of things it can do, but one really simple thing that is really good is this right here. It's a calculator. Now I can count on my fingers, but I can only count so much. One of the more complex things get, it takes me time. But a calculator saves time. Supply of or whatever knowledge I'm providing goes up. Okay. Well, then what makes supply goes down in terms of technological improvements? Not replacing technology, not upgrading your infrastructure. So leaving potholes in roads, or not taking care of bridges, or not updating your servers and those kinds of things. When things start to break down, supply goes down, price starts to drive back up. Okay. This is why we want to make sure that like we invest in upgrades and technological improvements, because overall it actually helps keep prices stable. If you see things like um, airplanes crashing because of bad air traffic control systems, or potholes in roads causing trucks to have problems with axles or break stuff that's inside the truck, or bridges collapsing, that kind of thing. That's not good. That means there's a problem with the technological improvement. Supply goes down, prices go up. Okay, so there is our R and A and T in non-price factors: resource costs and alternative output and technological improvements.